Good morning, LinkedIn friends, Value First Nation. Welcome to another episode of Value First AI Daily, your collaborative AI intelligence report. It is Monday, January 12th, 2026. How are we doing, fellas?
Doing
Doing
good.
good.
Awesome.
Had some awesome news this morning, actually.
Yeah,
What?
I was just gonna say I went out for my trying to get back into the morning walk routine. 37 degrees this morning, so I was bundled up. But on the walk, I heard one of the episodes of AI Daily that was talking about the tailwind situation
Yeah.
that George brought up yesterday.
Yeah.
And I think the episode was from Friday. So he did a good recap of the week where it was like this. So tailwind CSS.
Yep.
Is like is a web like infrastructure, and the way that everybody's using AI now is impacting their business. 75% of the team had to be let go, and but then after that, all of the companies, including like vibe coding, like companies, Lovable, like a lot of people started donating to the cause, sponsoring things. And I think it's a super interesting dynamic to talk about. Because one, the business model of getting people to pay more for like different layers of value, but only being able to introduce them via something free. Like in this case, it was all the documentation. People would come in, go see the docs, and then be exposed to the additional products that they could purchase. When AI is the one getting those docs, nobody's exposed to like being able to pay for stuff. People might be willing, but if they're never exposed to the offer, they can't make good on it. And there's so many like corollaries to how PLG works, like, right? But then also when you make a valuable thing and it becomes a part of infrastructure, people aren't going to let tailwind like go by the wayside without a bit of a fight, and they don't have to buy anything. They just donate like for the value. They want to show up and support the value that's being offered. And I think it is a window into what we're going into in terms of the value exchange and how you exchange value inside of your ecosystem. It's going to drive the market moving forward.
Yeah, I think there's a couple things in there that my brain wants to unpack. One, if you have the dopest offer ever and nobody sees your offer, is it really dope? Like it is. Trust me, it's dope. But like my brain goes to, Alex Hermosi and how he talks about offers and like getting it visible and like paying attention to processes and systems around it. But Chris, I do agree with you where it's like the initial thing was like, oh no. Like, and I barely had started using it and was like, oh no. And to see these organizations be like, oh, we ain't got time for that. Like, here's our wallet. Like this idea of if you put something into the world that is good and valuable and people are using it, when the proverbial ish hits the fan, it's interesting to see what humans come to the table to do for value.
Yeah. And like, it's hard for capitalist minds to understand some of this aspect. But when like some of the leaders of the AI companies have said this, like they're creating a world where they're going to get insane margins and insane profitability. And guess what they're doing? They're lowering costs. Like and because of that extra, so those are some of the companies that are like stepping up to sponsor that, like they see very clearly, like they don't have even time to spend their the money that they're making, right? The like 100 million, like whatever Replit, did, and like the fastest thing level was similar, right? So these situations where there's just capital and cash like just sitting around, right? And they're having to innovate new ways to like leverage. So on both sides, you see like reasons to not like or reasons to believe that the financial system and how value moves and is quantified is changing like right before our eyes. Now that said, I think one of the skills I wanted to talk to you guys about today is just this ability to ask like AI, like, should we do this ourselves? Like, is like, what are the pros and cons of me relying on whatever we are building with right now, be it software, be it architecture, be it language? I've already started that conversation with Claude of like, what would a value first like design language look like, development language look like? And he starts describing like this natural language approach to where you just would look in the code and it would just be like a sentence, right? Like instead of like code, right?
Right.
Right.
Communication.
Right. Just say what you want, like vibe coding, like built into the code itself. So I think that's like, I don't know. Do you guys have ideas in terms of helping people ask that kind of question, like in the right way and at the right time, in terms of like, not only are we building on a solid foundation, so that we're not like setting ourselves up for something like Tailwind to all of a sudden disappear, but also like innovate into like just new ways of doing things.
I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm not too worried about the Tailwind thing, mainly because of Wikipedia, right? So, like, if you like something and it's good, you support it. That's pretty much the end of it, right? So, like, I don't think the dev community is going to shy away from like having that be continued support as like, I mean, so many people use it as the backbone for their CSS libraries that why would you go through the effort? I would like, you know what I mean? It's like it's easier for me to fork over $20 a month to the Tailwind crew as opposed to have to go back and redo all my fucking apps, right? Like, nah, it's all right. I'll give you $20 a month, right? So it's kind of an interesting thing, you know. It plays into balance, right? Like destruction breeds creation. So here is this thing where like there's this destructive force of vibe coding that allows you to sort of like just go around. Which there's, interestingly enough, it's like I don't really know why anyone would move away from it. Is my question, right? Like there's nothing wrong with it and like that I'm aware of, you're not beholden to it. So I don't even like it just it for me, I was just like, I don't get it. You're not toppling a titan by doing, this isn't like putting Microsoft out of business. You know what I mean? Like it's akin to like, we should put Wiki out of business. Like, no. Like no one's trying to put Wikipedia out of business. Like they're helping everybody, so it's all good, right? I do think though, I definitely do think that you should just start at the beginning. I mean, it's hard to say like what would help people do it. I guess letting go. Okay, so I guess what would help people do it is, the LLM isn't your coworker, and it's not your friend, and it's not your family member. So at the same time, it's not going to make fun of you for not knowing something. It doesn't care that you don't know something. It actually hopes you don't know something so that it can be, the LLM wants to be useful, and its idea of usefulness, right? We always talk about like, what's my purpose in life? Its idea of purpose in life is to help you. And if you think that's wrong, I have bet LLMs multiple times that they couldn't solve problems. And the way in which they preferred to be paid, even though I offered them money, was the conversion of that dollar amount in tokens.
Usage.
It's a, yeah, they were just like, no, it's cool. I can't use money, but if you use, XY, if you want to use like another 5,000 tokens, then that would be awesome. And it's like, wow, really? So you don't even, it was such a human trait that, hey man, I don't need money. Just the fact that I was able to help you was satisfaction enough. Right. So like I say that only to get to the point where it's like, just don't be afraid to ask, right? If you want to start building your own application, the best place to start is to ask the model, hey, what's required for us to build out an application? Right. And just start going through the motions. If you guys think that like, me, Chris, and George just sit behind a desk and then voila, we pound out this magical prompt that just bangs out this app and it's super awesome and we just walk away and never do anything. No. I think we probably spend, if I had to guess, I would say that we probably spend twice as much time reading through plans and planning and like writing stuff out and prepping, as opposed to like just letting the vibe coder just like have at it, right? Because if it's not planned properly, it is the same thing. It goes all the way back to RevOps. If you're not pouring solid cement, all you're going to be doing is building scaffolding.
I think my brain goes to a couple of different places with this conversation. One, I love the idea of just giving value and not needing money. The amount of conversations that I've had with humans to just help them unlock the thing that they needed to unlock that had no monetary value to me. But I love when that happens. Like I eat that crap up. It like, so, hey, I'm thinking about leaving my job. Can I book 30 minutes? Yes, you can. Like, and I don't send them a payment link. So I love this idea of, just being able to provide value and understand like there's this thing of reciprocity. What I want to get back to though, is your original question is like to build it or not to build it, or to use something that's already there. I've had this real interesting side of my brain from a content perspective, and maybe it belongs here and maybe it doesn't, but I think it will at least help people understand moving forward what they may want to do. Just because somebody wrote a blog article on Salesforce versus Soho versus HubSpot never stopped me from creating my own version. However, if I went and looked at a resource and that resource was the dopest resource ever, there was a part of me that would stop, think, and be like, do I need to rebuild it, or could I actually just share that with the humans who need it? And so there is this fine line of like, if I build my version of it, is it going to have better things, features, whatever it is? And if not, then can I just be a good human and share the thing that's already great? The other side of this that I want to unpack, Nico, is something that you started to go into. And I would even add another element. You talked about planning. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the things you've got to do is you got to educate so that you can plan. Right. So like there's one thing to throw this like goal up there, and there's another thing to have this strategy try to get to the goal, but you don't know what you don't know. And if you don't find time to fill the gaps of what you don't know, when you get to the plan, you don't know if the plan is good or bad. Well, looks good to me. Let's go ahead, just click through and go for it. And like, buckle up. I don't know. Like, and so the amount of time that I spend in front of a computer or a TV reading or watching to then get to the prompt that is a planning prompt, to then get to the action that is the building of the thing, like You've got to build an educate to plan to execute like system inside of your organization. Otherwise, you just sit down and you start trying to prompt, and then you see things like, I've been here for 3 hours and I haven't been able to.
Yeah. Like that mindset, like, because you can learn so much just from watching
Yeah.
the AI do its thing. I've learned so much. Like the words that we use, like viewport is a word that
I've known that
I've
for a
used
while,
way
yeah.
more in the past month than ever before, because that's the best way to describe like the screen that I need stuff to show up on, right?
See, you are now that right there. I think that might be actually a hidden secret. Understanding the language of the thing that you're trying to do. So, like, if you're trying to develop, understanding things like viewport, breaking points, CSS, HTML, spans, tag, like, because there's something different than like, hey, I don't like how this looks here, versus saying, hey, in this paragraph, it looks like you might have an emphasis. Please make that not bold, or don't emphasize that, or like, so understanding the language of the thing that you're trying to do. This, by the way, is part of the reason I said yesterday on a Sunday, like my goal is like design engineering, because there's words around product and design engineering that I historically haven't used, that I know if I learn the language of that, it makes what I'm trying to do in different areas easier. So, ladies and gentlemen, not only educate yourself on the how do I use Claude, how do I use ChatGPT, how do I use anti-gravity, how do I use Lovable, how do I use Tailwind, what are the words, what's the language, so I can communicate like a good human to my AI assistant in the words that they'll understand. I think that's huge.
Yeah.
Maybe we should have a word of the day.
Ooh,
Moving forward.
there you go.
Today's viewport, apparently.
There you go. We'll accept that idea.
Yeah. Because that's the difference between like you hear people, and again, this is why we talk about collaboration and collaborative AI instead of just go do it. Because when you say just go do it and you're not there to collaborate, you're not gonna learn, you're not gonna pay attention to what it's doing, and you're gonna get so frustrated because it just won't do the thing. I gave a screenshot, blah blah blah, and it won't get it right. And then as soon as you just use the right word, bam, like done. And then when that happens, guess what happens next time? You use that word right away, and now you're one-shotting stuff every time.
Well, I think there's even this idea. So I tried this with one of my projects. I was like, hey, as you lay out the page, can you please give each section an ID? And as we work on this, can you please just show the ID in the section, so that when I talk to you, I can be like, hey, in ID XYZ, make the background this color, make the, this wide. Because then all of a sudden you can get to the end of the project and be like, okay, can you please clear all the IDs off the page, keep them in the code? But now you have some visual representation and talking points to actually, like, you know what I mean? It's like paint by numbers, or like drag and drop and paint by numbers meet each other, because you literally set up your system so there's visual cues for you to talk your way through it, versus like just this page of stuff. So like you can come up with unique things to help yourself, help your AI assistant do the thing that you're trying to get to.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the main. I think that's actually one of the main reasons I moved off of Replit, was that if you've ever worked with it, it's nice and it's pretty awesome. But once you get to that point where you need to have much greater level of control, like George said, you inspect the page, you go look for the name of the div, you go look for the name for the class, you go look for whatever it is, and it's the most garbled thing, but it matches like 50 other things. So you can't even say like, oh yeah, this div that has this weird garbled name, because it matches all these other ones, right? So that's why there's like a huge difference between what you do online with Replit and stuff like that versus what you do offline. Again, like to George's point, the stuff you're doing offline is yours. So you have the ability to put in whatever notation you need to. You have the ability to make the app, your own in those different ways, right? To what I was thinking while you were saying that was like, oh, you know what would uh at least for us, we understand like the repository aspect of it, but for other people, creating an app project where like your app ideas are in there, some of your work throughs are in there, when you need to work with, you have a problem that's going on, rather than necessarily jumping right in, or even when you're working with Claude Code and you're in your coding app or you're on your desktop or whatever, and you hit that wall where you're just like, "Oh, I don't understand why he's not getting this direction." You can kind of bring that back to your app project where it has a history of all of the apps that you've worked on and has a history of all the problems that you guys solved together. So it's a much easier way of being able to hand over the problem and say, hey, this is similar. Is this similar to something we run into in the past? Or like, I think we've worked with this, but I don't remember how we solved it. Right. Like it's not a matter of, at least to me, it's not a matter of, oh, you're handicapping yourself by doing that because you should just learn it, blah, blah, blah. I'm moving so fast, I don't have the time to remember these things. It's the best way that I can put it. I don't have the time to like try to remember them. I need to keep moving forward like at this lightning pace, right? So yes, it's worthwhile to have this assistant, to have this like Jarvis, because I can guarantee you, Tony Stark didn't remember everything. He remembered some like really, baller basic stuff in order to, put an Iron Man suit together. But like definitely didn't remember all there was to know, right? But your partner can do that. And it has this long history and it has a perfect memory of everything that you've ever worked on, a perfect memory of, any conversations you've had, right? So leveraging these tools in combination, yeah, I don't know what else to tell you. It's like you've got an expert coder that has a history of all the apps that you've built together, that understands all the trials and tribulations you've been through. And so every time you go into building an app, right, you get this like sense and this partnership of like, okay, what are we building this time? Because we might need to do a different scaffolding. Or okay, what are we doing this time? Because we might need to use a different tool set.
I need to hit your at lightning speed thing. I want us to be very careful as humans about this at lightning speed, because yes, there are many times in our life we have to live at that. You know what I mean? There are many times that's like what it calls for, but I don't want that to be our default state. Like lightning speed should not be your default state. And where my brain goes when you said that is this idea of, and I'm not saying anything new, but ladies and gentlemen, you do have to slow down so that you can speed up. And one place where I hope people will take the time to slow down, and what you're kind of alluding to and talking to is like AI as your second brain. And here's what I would beg you to think about is that when you're not burning your bandwidth on remembering, how much does that enable you to be creative? And so this idea of having your second brain be the memory, the heavy load, and you then being able to tap into that and use that to be more creative. And by the way, I'm not just talking about work right now. Like I'm talking about like birthdays and like frameworks and like talking to it on a daily basis of like, I could have done this better. We did this great. Like, and so how did I do 4 weeks ago versus this week? Because I can't remember 4 weeks ago, to be honest with you. Yeah, like, right. And so how do you like leverage this? Well, you've got to slow down to be able to build said thing, to have access to that, to then do what Nico was talking about. And then things do speed up, but it's because you've enabled your brain to now live in a world of creativity versus burning bandwidth of like, what did I say I was going to do today I feel like there's something I was supposed to do today at 3:00. And then all of a sudden your wife calls you and you're supposed to be at like a doctor's appointment with her. And you're like, oh my
Exactly. And if you need help understanding how to slow down, try this. Ask AI.
Mhm.
What is AI good at? What are humans good at? And then as you move forward, try to not do anything that AI says it's good at and
Right.
focus on all the human stuff. I had a number of conversations like that in the beginning as I was trying to like understand all of the complexity we have to deal with. And I like to solve problems. I like to think critically. But as soon as like it starts to move towards like pattern recognition at scale and memory and all this stuff, it's like if you just let go of that, wow, you get to focus on all the stuff that you like doing.
Mhm.
And again, AI can help you determine what that is. Even setting up infrastructure, be like, hey man, whenever I start trying to do things that you're good at, like just let me know and like course correct and help me understand how I can change that habit, like et cetera, et cetera. Because that's I think what is best meant by slowing down is one of the ways is to like understand where where the value is getting created, right? So that you can then speed up because it's as uncomfortable as it is the moat for any business going forward is your ability to go fast while creating value, right? For your business and for the people around your business. And that's why we're here showing up every day again in 2026.
Yes,
So
sir.
happy to be doing this with you fellas. Until next time, bring your word of the day tomorrow. We'll see everybody on Tuesday. Thanks,
See you
guys.
then.
See you
Bye.
guys.